Hey all, it's been quite a while since I've done the last YouTube video, so reason for that is basically I've been very scared about doing, uh, actually speaking this written piece that I had, and I think it's because I think it's quite bad, to be honest. Um, so I'm just going to read it like this. I feel like I had to preface by saying that this is going to be a bad written piece, which is always a good start. Um, so let's just go on with it. And I'm literally just going to read it word for word, and then after this, I'm going to explain what I'm planning to do after this. So, why do I keep writing things that don't matter? Uh, First question, why do I write? I write because it's how I think. If I didn't write like this, the ideas would just bounce around my head like a pinball machine. With the thoughts living on the page, I can observe them. With that, I gain a higher level of clarity. With clarity comes a higher level of thinking, and with that, I can communicate better with others. It's a hell of a lot better than delivering a muddled message that leads to embarrassment or shame. Why do most people not write? Probably because it's scary. You are shown clear as day how stupid you are, which is most of the time, by the way. Most people would rather enjoy the potential of intelligence without the consequences of failure. I don't consider myself unique in this, by the way. There's a reason I struggle with motivation. The fear of failure is a powerful beast. Writing is a task that most consider easy and trivial. If an AI can do it, then it must be easy, right? Well, that's wrong. It's difficult. And anyone who has attempted to write their first book has quickly been shown the brick wall of stupidity. Fact is, though, everyone experiences that. It's why we create first drafts. The best writing nearly always comes from our later attempts, not the first. Question three, who am I writing for? I started off writing Obsidian, however, I wanted to write YouTube scripts, like this one, for an audience. I can produce the words, but I struggle to provide a clear message, reflecting on my lifestyle, I suppose. Reflective of my lifestyle, I suppose. Everything feels close to something great, but it misses the mark. I also struggle to know who would want to hear my message, and maybe that is where I'm going wrong. Question four, who am I? Oh no, what am I writing about? Often about myself, my goals, my progress. You can see it in a diary mixed with self motivation. You can see it as a diary mixed with self motivation and ideas, although I managed to make it much more elaborate. Trust me to overcomplicate things. Over the years, this has allowed me to be more self aware of how I think and so less critical of myself. The moment I want to focus on writing for a YouTube video, again like this one, it falls flat and I don't know why. So maybe I'm not too self aware? I try to write about the creative process and how to think more creatively. I said that really weird. I try to write about the creative process and how to think more creatively. I want to communicate the struggles that come with creativity as I face them a lot myself. So it's for my benefit to understand these concepts as well. Why do I feel like all this writing? Uh, why do I feel like all this writing I do doesn't matter? I feel like that there's something wrong with the way I wrote that. Why do I feel like all the writing I do doesn't matter? Okay, it sort of flows. I feel like there's something wrong there. Anyway, the ability to write effectively, to say something new, is a big hurdle. I don't know what the audience wants. Even if I did, I don't know if I could communicate that answer. I write whatever comes to my mind and hope that the audience understands. I tried writing about creative paralysis, which I think I've mentioned in the past, by the way. I tried writing about creative paralysis and the idea of how we get stunted by too many creative ideas at once. Well, I found that piece a waste of time. Why did I write it? For who? For me? Well, what I wrote didn't provide any answers for me or the viewer. It just pointed out the fact that it just pointed to the fact without a solution. I didn't even provide my own life experience as an example. Why do I avoid writing about myself? That's the next question. I didn't want to burden people with my struggles. The problems are bad enough. Their problems are bad enough, and I didn't need to intertwine my troubles too. I wanted to show what the problem solves, not more problems. Even worse, I still haven't solved it. Why approach that guy? Even worse, if I haven't solved it, why approach that guy? I've thought about this question for a while. Maybe it's because we can exchange a dialogue, dig out of this ditch together. However, doing that would require both of us being vulnerable, putting the chips down, both you and for me. I wrote that a bit weird at the end. Anyway, how can writing about myself provide something for others? If I write about myself, I can provide my experience for the other, something that can resonate with, something they can resonate with. A connection is made, the stars are aligned, as it were. With that, we can guide each other through a forest that we are currently facing. Eventually, we make it to the other side, me through writing and the audience through listening and providing feedback. We can leapfrog each other, making progress together and work towards something better. What could I tell the audience that I've learned from this writing, this specific writing that I'm doing here? This channel is often about creation, so I want to say that creation is a form of communication. Through words, painting, or stone, they can provide a way to express, communicate to others. With that ability holds the responsibility to be honest with yourself as people wish to understand who you are through your art. You hold the answer they wish to have. Be honest and be you, as that is really what people want. Anything else, and an AI may as well have generated it, which is why AI isn't true art. I'll go into that in a bit. It doesn't have a personal experience, but you do, so utilize it. Why do you keep writing things that don't matter? So this goes back to the main question. It was because I wasn't honest with myself and with you. I didn't include my personal struggles into my writing. I thought it wasn't important to communicate it. It's the opposite, however. Our personal struggles that make our work stand out from everyone else. Going forward, I'll write with my full experience in the frame, not to indulge, but to connect. That's how others will truly find something worth hearing. So I wrote all that, and sorry if I delivered that in a kind of crappy way. The main thing about this whole writing is that I wanted to work out why everything I'm writing feels like it just doesn't connect and communicate with people. I felt like I kept writing things, as the question says, I kept writing things that didn't feel like they mattered to people. And I felt like that was because I was struggling to connect properly with the audience in a way that made sense. And I think also I'm very much, I feel like right now I've kind of gone into this in between. So originally I was just doing these talks and I was talking without having any writing previously, and as a result my speeches were quite scattered and I had no sources to back up what I was saying. This piece of writing is very poignant. It's very much paragraph by paragraph, question, answer, and I wanted to make this YouTube video ages ago. I think I wrote this, when did I finish this? Oh, I can't remember. Well, I did it back in April, so it's been at least a month since I've written that down. And how do I put this? So I was struggling to sit down and read it because I knew that if I just read it bit by bit, that it's going to sound the way I just made it sound, which was very, very mechanical, I guess. I like the idea that I haven't written everything down point by point. I like the idea of discovering what I'm thinking as I go. And I think that's synonymous with a lot of other philosophers' writings. You know, they kind of collect a bunch of sources and they collect a bunch of ideas, but then when they start communicating it, it's as they communicate, it kind of flows as it goes. I don't know how to put it. It's like when like when you watch one of those shows, like Jordan Peterson, for example, you will see him not have all the answers right there and then. He will be discovering something new as he's talking, and that's part of the act. I think he actually described it a bit like a gymnast, where uh, you can watch someone who has meticulously practiced their uh, gymnastics for ages, and everything they do is very methodical and perfect, and that's entertaining to watch. But in some ways, it's more entertaining to watch someone who hasn't had everything perfectly, and they live on that edge of doing something spectacular, something just to their very limits. Um, you know, if I was to attempt to do a skateboarding trick, and I was to do something amazing, you know, even if it was something very simple, uh, it would be much more impressive if I was to do it than if someone like Tony Hawk's was to do it. I don't know why I'm using that as an example, but you know what I mean. I'm someone who's good at their work. You're gonna need to see them do something even more spectacular for it to be entertaining. Watching someone who actually pushes themselves to their limits is what makes it interesting. And I think that's the problem with reading a written piece like this. When you read this and you just read it for word, it's like, well, I've already done the performance to myself. So, of course, it was going to end up being good because I'm reading it word for word. But it ends up not being good because I'm not discovering anything new. So I've already discovered it. And for other people, I don't know, it's just the way that it's written. It's not exactly the best way of doing it. So, sorry, this is this is very muddled. So going forward, this is the new way that I'm going to be doing these written pieces, and all of these videos up to this point have been working towards this goal. But the next time I'm going to do a written piece, this is what I'm currently working towards. So right now I'm gathering a ton of sources from different philosophers and people of that kind of craft, you know. I'm looking into Carl Jung and I can say Kant. I think it's Kant, Kant. Emmanuel. No, that's Macron. It might have been Emmanuel Kant. I can't remember. A philosopher who did a concept called categorical imperatives. So them two and Nietzsche. I think I've got one more philosopher, but I can't remember. Anyway, I'm gonna be gathering these philosophers, trying to understand how they thought about creativity, and starting hopefully a series. But we're gonna start with a very simple question, which is, I haven't done the main free-flowing bit at the moment. So I can't remember what the question is anymore. It was basically like why creativity matters. That was the first question. Let me just pull it up just to be safe. Why creative inspiration matters. So what I'm going to be doing, sorry, how long has this video gone on for? Okay, we're fine. What I'm going to be doing is gathering the sources, and then I'm going to do about, so on that written piece it was about 800 words, so I'm going to do about 3,000 words of written piece, but this is going to be a lot more free-flowing, a lot more first draft. I did a lot of editing in that writing. This is going to be a lot less structured, so I'm going to do about 3,000 words of free-flowing, and then I'm going to grab my favorite from the outlines. So I just go grab my favorite bits, make it into an outline, and then I'm going to just speak it free flowing. So it's kind of a good mixture of the two. So we've got that kind of structured style that I've just done now, but we're going to be mixing it with the kind of free flowing that we've had before. And I'm hoping that by combining the two, it will mean that I can deliver what I want to talk about in a more free-flowy manner and a bit more of an entertaining manner, because I'm not relying on a script, I'm instead just speaking it as I go. But it's not going to be complete garbage either. You know, I'm not going to be just saying a bunch of random stuff that I haven't researched. So that's the plan. And I feel like I've talked... Sorry, God, I keep burping. Yes, I hope to see you there. I'm just going to end the video now. Thank you, finally, for this video coming out. I said thank you finally to myself for finally making this video. Thank you to anyone who has watched this. And yeah, I'll speak soon.